So welcome everyone. I'm Mariana Dantas. I am affiliated faculty with the Wealth and Poverty program. And as you guys know, we're having our Wealth and Poverty Week, and the focus is on acting on inequality, right? Not just thinking about it, but how people how act on it. And so it's with great pleasure that today we have Jennifer Simon here to talk to us. She is the Executive Director of Lights Regional Innovation at Ohio University. And through that function, she manages a network of makerspaces and incubators that serve entrepreneurs in Appalachia, in Appalachian regions of various states, Ohio included, but also Kentucky, Tennessee, right, West Virginia, right?
Just Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm extending
We
it to
talked to those other
Tennessee,
people,
yes,
too.
right? Yes, so Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia. And the purpose, right, is to help them pursue educational and career goals and opportunities, build a product, create a business. And before leading Lights, Jennifer Simon was director of Ohio University's Innovation Center, which has successfully helped create companies and jobs in the community. So we're very much interested to hear about her experiences and her thoughts on this issue. Please, let's welcome her.
Okay, I'm going to keep a timer going because I'm so passionate about this, I could end up talking all evening. I'm sure you guys have other things to do. But basically what I'm going to talk about are different pathways out of poverty. So we look at this population, the Appalachian population, and as I go through, you'll see that what we are doing is actually making sure that the program fits the population rather than trying to make the population fit the program. So I'll go into that definitely a little bit more when we get done. So basically what we do, if we're just going to strip it all the way down, so all the work that we do, we work with 10 different networks, and we focus on building small businesses, creating jobs, attracting investment, and transferring skills. Excuse me, I said networks, I meant gateways. Each one of these gateways are located throughout the region, and I'll show you that map here in a minute. So this is me. I didn't put it up here to brag, I promise you. I put it up here because to let you know the very first bullet point is the most important bullet point on this whole list. So I grew up in Appalachia, Ohio. I grew up in Waterford, Ohio. It's along the Muskingum River on a dairy farm. And in that community, we had a lot of the families worked as farmers, as coal miners, as people in power plants and manufacturing. And we'll talk about that a little bit as I go through, but it's important to recognize the significance of having an Appalachian working on a program that is going to affect Appalachians. So it's something that I started looking back at this, and I realized that minus a little 2-year stint, I have spent 20 out of my 22 years of my career on economic and community development in Appalachia. So it's pretty important to me. Retirement might be difficult. Depends on what the check is. People in this region know how to use their hands. My father, my dad, was a dairy farmer. He did that for most of his life. And then the economics of farming, dairy farming, were not working for the smaller farmers. And I very much, when I first saw this picture, I'm like, oh my gosh, anything I do presentation-wise this has to be in there. Because this is what we're building from, is the fact that so many of our fathers, our mothers, uncles, etc., worked in environments where this is what they came home looking like every night. This is what, what happened while they were at work. So definitely know how to use their hands. But with my dad, he moved into a manufacturing job after the farming. And that dirt actually turned into metals. Little metal shavings is what he worked in, which ultimately likely cost him his life. And that is, as we think about what are we working on from an economic standpoint, what economy are we trying to create, we also have to keep continuously in our mind that part of wealth, part of leaving poverty, is being in a place that makes you healthy, or that where you can be healthy. So this is actually a picture of the one of the cooling towers at the AEP power plant in my hometown. So as this was being deconstructed, this was a very moving time for many people in my community because it had been the major provider of the tax base for our schools, and really what was driving a lot of the transportation jobs, a lot of the manufacturing. You know, having cheap power was a big deal for some of our manufacturers in the area. So, but since the power plant is gone, we know that the skills remain. A lot of people do not leave Appalachia when they've worked there for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years. It's impossible because it's their home. Has anybody ever heard somebody say, I don't know, why don't they just leave? That is the most ridiculous statement I could ever hear. It really is irritating to me to hear something like that. Because you are asking somebody to completely leave the place where they've raised their children, they've married their wife or their husband, where they have been for generations. It's a place that means something to them. It's their roots. So the skills are still there. The people are still there. But now we've developed these spaces where people can use their hands. So we want to maintain that first image. Not necessarily that we have to have somebody that's going to come in and be that dirty all the time as a result of some of the really hard work. But what we've done is we've taken a look and looked at other careers and things across what industry has been like across our region. I'll show you the map so you know exactly what region I'm talking about. And we said, okay, we know that these makerspaces are popping up all over the place. And do you guys know what a makerspace is before I get too far down the road? Okay, so a makerspace is a space for makers. Sorry, I'm not being flippant. It's actually a place that has woodworking equipment, fabrication equipment like welding machines, also sewing machines, 3D printers, and you can sort of see, it's really kind of light in here, but a lot of this stuff, it's drill presses on the woodworking side, a little bit more woodworking over here, 3D printing back in the back, you see fabrication. All of this in very open spaces. So we want to create these, we have created them and we have launched them as centers where people feel comfortable walking in. They're not walking onto Ohio University's campus necessarily, because for a lot of people that are out in the region, for me when I came here as a student, I was terrified. For a lot of people in our region, this is a whole new place. This is a scary place. So we are working with people where they are in their communities. So in 2016, the Appalachian Regional Commission, which is a commission that deals with 13 states, 13 Appalachian states, all the way from portions of New York all the way down to northern Mississippi. So that entire kind of the Appalachian Mountains, it follows the mountains. And they set up a program that's called POWER, and it's meant to work with coal-impacted communities. So we were offered, after we had designed kind of this new program, $2 million to deploy on a 3-year basis. We are now in our second year. We have completed our second year, and we're starting our third year, which I have some, I'm glad to report that I do have some metrics of how well we've done instead of, oh, we're just getting started. But we're doing fairly well. We started with just 4 gateways in our original proposal, but it became obvious that other communities were building business incubators, they were building makerspaces, they were building things, and they couldn't quite figure all of it out. And so we said, well, why don't we just bring all of these different communities in and have a network of these makerspaces? And our job is going to be provide technical assistance or just assistance in general so that communities can build out what they need. So my staff, you can see Ariana And Nathaniel, they're both executive business coaches. They work directly with people who want to start companies. Nathaniel has experience. He created one of the first makerspaces here at Ohio University called the Create Space. Can't believe I went blank. Over in the College of Fine Arts. And so he ran that for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and needed to do something different. And so he had a unique skill set that we were able to grab and put forward. So the Innovation Center here at Ohio University, have any of you been to the Innovation Center? Awesome. Have any of you been to Miller's Chicken? Yeah? No? A few? Put them up proud. So if you just go a little bit further past Miller's Chicken, you will come to the Innovation Center. And the Innovation Center is a business incubator. Business incubators do just that. They incubate businesses and startups. So when you come in with an idea, we help you go through that idea. We help you look at a market, assess your market. Is this something that would be, does anybody even want to buy this? So here at the university, we have had a business incubator since 1983. And we were the first university-based business incubator in the state of Ohio and only 12th in the nation. So we were sort of pioneers on this from the start. Our business incubator, the Innovation Center, has been ranked nationally, and we've been ranked across North America. We're ranked 3rd, given our metrics for the United States, and we are ranked 8th for North America. So that includes Canada. Canada is really ahead in a lot of fronts as it relates to innovation and the creation of opportunities and innovation. So they beat us out there a little bit. But this is our service area. So it's 28 counties. Are any of you from any of these counties? All right, where are you from?
Meigs County.
No, you're from Meigs. Awesome. Awesome. One of our clients is from Meigs, so I'll talk about that. Okay, so only one person. So this is good. This is a great opportunity for you guys to get to know a little bit about what we do. So this is Marietta. How many of you have been to Marietta? Yeah? Okay. This is Portsmouth. How many of you have been to Portsmouth? Okay, good. Zanesville? Okay, a lot of people have been through some of these larger communities. Nelsonville is actually has 2 of our gateways. So I will go through real quick. The Idea Lab at Zane State College is a makerspace. They are coupled with Spark 560, which is a business incubator. So they provide business assistance to people who use the makerspace. Somerset Innovation Gateway has not launched yet, but we're working with them. They're going to be bringing in education, entrepreneurship, and making all in one space. And I think they're going to focus a little bit on beverages. So I think it's going to be a really exciting spot. Somerset has 1,500 people in their town. It's very small. But they are also a little bit of a hub of activity. Nelsonville, so Hocking College, we worked very, very closely with Hocking College. They are using some of the work that they're doing in spirits, some of their food work, and a lot of their woodworking. That is their making. So making's pretty broad. It's not just welding and the things that I mentioned. I mean, people are looking at, if I'm distilling, is that making? Yep, you got a product coming out the end. So they're working on that. AceNet has a wood center there where there's a lot of woodworking companies that have sort of bubbled up. And so that's interesting, and they both are collaborating on some wood industry work. There is the Athens Makerspace. Did anybody know that existed? No? So, all right. The Athens Makerspace is out, you know where Catalyst Cafe is? Yeah, no? I'm trying to know what I knew when I was a student, and that probably was a little bit further out than what I knew. It's a little bit out what's Route 56. So if you're coming down Union Street, you would keep going west on Union. This makerspace was established out there so that people from the county wouldn't have to drive into Athens, this big, bad, scary place that is Athens. So this was established through a group called Reuse Industries, and they spent, I don't know, 2 or 3 years trying to develop this makerspace. And then when they became part of our network, we were able to speed that up a little bit with funding and with technical assistance. So I would recommend that you stop in there. They have an open house next Saturday, and I don't know if you want to send this to your listserv, but people could, can take a look at that. The Innovation Center we talked about. The BB2C Epicenter is a business incubator with a makerspace now. Shawnee State University, I'm going to their grand opening of their Cricker Innovation Hub tomorrow. They have a really interesting program where they're looking at some of their areas where they're the most successful as a university, and game development is one of their areas of interest, and plastics. So we're working with them to develop some programming around that. Lawrence County Innovation Gateway, one of Ohio University's campus is in Lawrence County. It's called OU Southern, and we're working with them and looking about what we might be able to do. And then we popped over the river, I think I put the dot in the right place, for Marshall University in Huntington, Robert C. Byrd Institute for Advanced Manufacturing. We work with them. They do a lot of making. They do a lot of entrepreneurial assistance. So they're a pretty good partner for us, so we can move. So it really does go to the fact that making represents, this is our whole purpose, making represents a return to the heritage of our region, using your hands to do something, to make something. So we've made that central to our work with having these maker spaces where people can naturally come through the door. They feel comfortable. So there's been some survey work done that shows that 80% of people that go into maker spaces reported that their business network grew. 46% said that their earning income grew as a result of being in the makerspace. That could be because they've made products, they're selling products. It could be because they have found a new job through the makerspace itself. Since our project launched in October of 2016, we have had 2,235 makers walk through the doors of those 10 centers. As a result of that, 92 businesses came out. Doesn't sound like a huge amount, but we're not done. So in 2 years, that is not a bad start. It's not a bad start. It's going to take a lot of people coming in to our gateways. And our gateways aren't just about starting businesses. So what we talk about is when we're working with people, we're helping them find their pathway. So one of the keys is the business assistance and the prototype development assistance. So when I say business assistance, could somebody give me an example, maybe what that kind of thing would be? Help with X, help with Y, help with Z? What would, maybe help with accounting? Help with figuring out your legal status as a business, what you should register as legally. It can mean helping you hire your first people, helping you find a contract, how to go into a contract. It's pretty wide, the types of services that we provide for, that the gateways provide and that my staff provide. It's fairly broad, so that we are meeting the needs of any business or any person that walks through the door. Our group is focused, however, on product-based businesses. We're not working with restaurants unless they're making salsa or something that they are ultimately selling on a shelf. Some people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why don't you work with a restaurant? That doesn't make sense. Because restaurants typically do not pay as well as manufacturers or product folks. That they're lower wage jobs. And that is fine. That's a restaurant. That's great. My job is to help people become more wealthy. And whatever that measure of wealth is, whether it's healthy or it's additional dollars, it's our job to do that. We were not set up to just assist businesses that were not going to be working toward at least the creation of 1 to 2 jobs. If I have 1,000 people that 1,000 individuals that start businesses and it's just them, that is 1,000 jobs in our community. And that is a really important point because I think a lot of people talk about when it comes to economic development, if I don't attract a 1,000 person company to come and be in my community like GE or Toyota or whatever, Amazon, whatever it is, as an economic developer, I'm not successful if I don't get that 1,000 person company that comes in. I actually think it is not a smart economic development strategy to just focus on attracting one company. One thing happens in the market, that company is gone. With our assistance and what we're doing is trying to build up 1,000 of those companies to see what can happen in that once those companies are built, once they are developed. It's a lot more of a stable type of strategy rather than having these larger employers. And I was an economic developer in Athens County, and I can tell you that is one of the most political jobs anybody would ever want. They love you for a year, for 2 years, she's going to save us, all those things. But as soon as you don't bring that 1,000 person company in, you are not popular anymore. So it's a rough one. So the second piece that we do is access to the making equipment, which we talked about. But the piece I really didn't talk about is the expertise that comes with being matched up with some of the equipment and the opportunity. So when we have people coming in, we've had examples of folks that have been able to find employment because they've used a piece of equipment there at the makerspace and someone knew that they knew how to use that and they were able to hire them. So that's an example. People can use the equipment for all sorts of things. And then we have what we call access to alternative education and skills development in the gateways. So each gateway is a little bit different. Some are affiliated with universities. Some are independent standing. We have, for example, one of our gateways in Marietta is called the BB2C Epicenter. It's Building Bridges to Careers is what BB2C stands for. And in the Epicenter, the whole idea is that they bring people in to get them into other educational opportunities or get them to start businesses. So as they bring in, they've done a couple things. I'm giving away part of my talk later. But they actually brought in, as an example, a group to do an informal welding class. We're just going to teach you how to run this welder. Well, the person that was teaching was an instructor for Washington County Career Center, Adult Career Center. So one of the students has signed up to take full-time courses. And I don't know if you know how much welders make, but when they start, it can sometimes be in six figures. So it's not a bad job to get. Sorry, I'm Ohio University, but I've talked to folks about this. I do believe that we are not all made to go to college. We are not all made to take on that next step, and that's okay. And we got to let people know that that's okay. But we have to have an opportunity waiting for people who don't take that step. So, couple things about the overall concept of innovation spaces. So it builds community. By saying that, innovation gateways build community. What does that mean to you? Anybody have any ideas? Having a community. What does being part of a community? How many of you are in learning communities? Been in different learning communities? No? That's not I see you. That was a half raise there. And in that learning community, what was meant to happen? What's the whole goal of being part of a learning community?
I was a learning community leader, and it was like you make those people make connections so they can be more successful, and like make sure that they have people to go back to and a support network.
So you're building a support network to make people successful, and in that support network, you're learning something new together. That is what when we're talking about making community, that's what we're talking about. And when, as students, some of you as students, I know not all of you are students, but did you ever have a time when you felt a little lonely at Ohio University when you first got here and you didn't have a place necessarily, or you didn't find your place? That is what happens in our communities. People who have lost jobs, kids have moved off maybe, and they don't have a place to go. These spaces are meant to create the network for those individuals so that they can learn new skills and do something different, and they can have a greater sense of hope. They can have a larger connection to what can really happen for me. We are faced with the opioid crisis in this region. The entire country is, but this region has been sort of ground zero for the crisis. And we have to do everything we can to provide places where people feel hope, where they feel like there's something for them to do. So, shared interest, being successful. I already talked about the different tooling. That's part of what Innovation Gateways have to provide. This next piece about economic opportunity. So, providing opportunities for first income. So, your first income is if you are you make fine cabinetry and you work in one of our makerspaces, and that is what you do for your living. You're selling your cabinetry. Then that is your first income. That's your only income. A lot of people that have come out of the mines, out of the power plants, out of the manufacturing facilities, they were making six figures. They were making 70, 80,000, 100,000 plus. Now they have to go down to a $40,000 a year job and a $30,000 a year job with a family of four. Well, they need second income opportunities. So these spaces provide that opportunity for people to be able to sell what they're making. And I'll go into that a little bit more. So we already talked about reshaping the education and workforce development. I don't think I need to go into that much more. Another component that we have witnessed that I think is really strong is the what's sometimes called reverse mentoring that happens. So in the centers, we have seen older adults come in, and we have kids that come in. And what's interesting is watching both of them learn from one another. So you might have somebody that is an older person who doesn't know how to set up, do anything digitally. They don't know how to set up a store, an Etsy store as an example. They don't know how to do that. But this kid who grew up with a phone in their crib knows how to do that. But they have other skills that they can provide for the kids, right? I mean, it's the woodworking, it's the fabrication, it's all of the things we've talked about already. So I think this is an important piece that some of our gateways were prepared for and they understood and they knew it would happen. I think for others, it's been a little bit of a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but a surprise. So they're sort of like the baby boomers, and then the kids that are in like high school and younger. Those two generations are the ones that are coming together the most. Probably your generation as well. So it's coming. It's the people like me who are stuck there in the middle. That we know a little bit of both, but not enough of anything. So that is kind of where we fit. So accomplishments to date. So I like how you've said this is about doing, like what is happening. It's not just about theory. So far, we have assisted 95 businesses. Those businesses have earned $50.9 million in revenue total together in a 2-year period of time. So we've definitely seen some significant growth. We attracted $22.9 million in private investment. Some of that is angel investment, and that's an angel investor is someone that's in your community that wants to contribute to grow your business, so they'll put some money in. It's an angel investor. Some of that is regular loans from banks. Some of it is actually people who have gone through Kickstarter, and we've successfully helped individuals gain funds through Kickstarter. It's a pretty big mix of what private investment is. So our client companies employ about 138 people right now with total annualized wages of $2.83 million. So That's not bad. I feel good about those numbers. I feel like we're on track. The final number is more about what's the culture that we're creating. Well, we hosted 298 entrepreneurial and maker events in all of those locations where 4,000 people, over 4,000 people participated. So there is definitely people are walking in the door wanting to know what the heck is going on here. This sounds interesting. I want to know how to make, something for Christmas, or I want to know about how to start my own business. So it's been interesting. I've mentioned some of these. Like I said, I was giving away my talk before we even got there. But the small informal welding class I mentioned, 15 people went in. One person came out saying, I want to be part of this formal program now. I want to go to Washington County Career Center and be part of this. We had a student at Zane State College, one of the Idea Lab, if you remember me talking about the Idea Lab there, one of the makerspaces. This student actually has helped a company come up with some 3D printed forms that was saving them a ton of money. He also knows how to use a lot of the equipment in the makerspace. And as a result, one of the area companies, one of the machine shops locally, a gentleman who went off to New York City, became a whole lot of money, decided he wanted to come back and build the economy in his area. But he was able to find a student who had gone through this training, who knew the pieces of equipment in the makerspace and how they worked. He saw this guy, I say kid, I'm sorry. He saw this gentleman be able to work the equipment. So then he was able to say, well, I've already seen it in action, hired. So great matchmaking for us, a great way to do that. And that's just one example. We had a client who attended Zanesville Startup Weekend. A startup weekend is a 48 to 52 hour activity, and where people go and they pitch ideas. They just, you as a group, you identify the top ideas, you form teams around those ideas, and then you go for the rest of the weekend and work on forming a business and being able to deliver a business. So one of these guys in Zanesville actually has an interesting product. It is a product that is for carrying duck decoys and the blinds that people use that are for hunting ducks. So he created this awesome product, easy to make. We talked to him, we coached him, we had mentors there that weekend that talked to him, coached him, mentored him to go to the local regional, it's a chain store of sporting goods shops, and he got a contract. That was in 48 hours of work, actually less than 48 hours. So we're now working for him to make that sustainable, or working with him to make that sustainable and making it a product that he can, on a regular basis, be able to manufacture. And 9 out of the 10 gateways that I showed you earlier on the map are launched. They're off the ground. They're not complete, I'll just say they're off the ground. People are at varying levels of sophistication. One of our biggest accomplishments, I think, to date, I'm going to make sure that I hope this works. It worked earlier because it scared somebody. I think somebody over there flew out of their chair. So hopefully it's not as loud this time. This is about Portsmouth, Ohio, which is the center, not now, of the opioid crisis.
Have we lost hope? We lost the factories. We lost the jobs. We lost a generation of our best and brightest to the big city lights and the promise of a better life. But have we lost hope? We lost our fathers and mothers and sons and daughters to addiction. We lost them to an absence of purpose and the chaos and aimlessness of an age without meaning. But have we lost hope? There are those who say we have, and they'll continue to see what they want to see. But I know what I see. Hope works 16-hour days to put food on the table. Hope pours the last of its savings into a business they're told will never work, and then they transform the entire town. Hope does what they say cannot be done. Hope is stubborn. Hope sweats. Hope bleeds. Hope cares. Hope never stops. Forget the obstacles and the red tape and the naysayers. Forget things never getting better. Hope never sleeps. Hope is the entrepreneur, the artist, the laborer. Hope is the ordinary made extraordinary in its resilience and its restlessness and its hunger. So if we lost hope, no way. Hope lives next door. We are the answer we've been looking for.
Do any of you live in communities that have lost hope? Anybody? Would you say Meigs County might have been one of those places in the past where people don't feel like, well, we've lost this or we've lost that. We don't have anything. This video, to me, is what our entire program is about. It's about building hope. It's about giving people an opportunity to do something different. Let's not just go through and make our economic development efforts to attract the 1,000 person company. We have enough hope and enough belief in our people that we're able to have the kind of strategy that will build a more diverse economy. So out of our accomplishments, I put program accomplishments to date because we've seen that attitude change. Just in the short amount of time that we've been working on this, we've seen the attitude change. A couple little quick stories, and then I will wrap up. Burley Pottery is a company that, as it says, was established in 1923. It is a pottery company. 100 years ago, you had to have all of this stoneware, crocks, things that you were pickling your products in. You were keeping all of your vegetables in for the winter. All of these things. They've had all stoneware that was practical. People used it for that. Well, then this company saw that was kind of dying off. And they decided about 40 years ago, they were going to transition into making these ornate bird baths, these really fantastic, beautiful looking bird baths, and things that, quite frankly, I would never put in my garden. Just very, something I think my great-grandmother would like. But, however, this company decided recently, and has been working with us, they've decided, we don't want to be the 100-year-old company that fails. We don't want to be the last stoneware company in our region that dies. So we have worked with them in a number of different capacities through our Lights program. We've connected them with the College of Fine Arts. We've connected them with Zane State College to do some 3D printing of their molds. This is the company that I was sort of referring to earlier, of the molds for their pottery. More importantly, one of our business coaches, Nathaniel Berger, his job has been to get them to look at different product lines. Look, you're not going to be selling the bird baths forever. Your market is literally dying off. So you've got to come up with a new market. So they have been so receptive to it. And a lot of the older companies in the region that aren't receptive to looking at new opportunities die. So you might say, wait a minute, I thought you worked with startups. This is a 100-year-old company. That doesn't make sense. What we do is actually work with even legacy companies who are building entirely new products. So they're staying alive, they're manufacturing more, they're building their workforce. They've actually hired more people. They actually have more people working there than when we first started working with them. So we have no problem putting the startups also on equal footing, but we see that this is a really important piece to what we are doing, is to be able to help this kind of company. And it's pretty exciting. So this is a company called Austin Molnar. It's actually Austin Molnar USA. This is a woman that lives actually in Albany at the border of where Meigs County and Athens County come together. And her product, she actually started out as a cosmetologist, I think that's the right term, and she did makeup for people. And she had that kind of background. She was in fashion. She was in all these other things. She's from New York City. And she decided that she wanted to start coming up with new products out of, when she moved here 10, 20 years ago, she wanted to start something new. So she designed these light up lip glosses. I usually bring the things I bought throughout the years, but these light up lip glosses that are super awesome that you can use. Has a little mirror on it and a light, so it's really easy to put on anytime. She came up with that because she could never, put her makeup on when she, was in the airplane going home, or if she was, whatever it was. She just wasn't able to do that. But she didn't stop at makeup. She decided that, hey, also, when I open my makeup bag, I can't see anything. So she has a patented system that lights up, just like, when you're opening the refrigerator door and you wait for the light to come on. That's part of what her purse system or her makeup bag does. And now she's gone into fine leather handbags, and she's selling. She's actually selling all over the place. But she has products in 80 stores throughout the country, and she has a connection to potentially lead to an international deal. So she's working that angle. We helped her with marketing. We figured out how much we spent probably in being able to help her. It was about $30,000 in services that we delivered in marketing and figuring out her new market segments and being able to think through her business. We helped her. She has her leather handbags. This is why it's important for our region. Her leather handbags are actually made in Gallipolis. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but her bags are made by a leather company here in our region. So it was really nice. A person came up with a product. Now it's being made, and now there's additional job creation. So she's been fun. She's been a challenge, though, because, man, she's feisty. I like it. But she's also been a lot of fun, and we've enjoyed working with her. So I think I'm at almost about 45 minutes. So I'm going to open it up for questions. Yeah.
So where are some of the other, so this is essentially in Appalachia. Are there other places where they're doing things like this besides just here?
Yes. So there's actually a place in Columbus that's called the Idea Foundry. Does anybody know about the Idea Foundry? So it's like a 100,000 square foot facility. It's a makerspace. They added in the last year or so an additional component to what they were doing. They had people coming in, creating new products, and they hadn't brought on the entrepreneurial assistance piece. And so they've added into their space people who are providing services to the different entrepreneurs that have sort of emerged. So they're definitely they are the largest in Ohio, and they were, this is all new territory to bring entrepreneurship and making together in this kind of way. And you see the makerspaces in Silicon Valley. There's some different makerspaces, but I don't think that as much of the heritage is there as it is in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has some spaces that are fantastic. There's a little bit of this being done in Cleveland, so it's there's a lot of work that's happening. But really in Appalachia, we started this first, and we're kind of testing out the concept. We have some other entrepreneur-based organizations that are in West Virginia that we're helping right now, further south, southern West Virginia, that we're helping now be able to establish some of these pieces. But it's fairly new. It's fairly new. Yeah.
How do you advertise makerspaces to rural communities or people who historically have worked in factories or in manufacturing and not in entrepreneurship or business making? How do you advertise that as something that they see as attainable and a good thing for them to do?
So I've asked our different gateways, what's working, what's not working. And so some of them have said that really what works is, this is the age difference, but their Facebook posts that are all about their events, when they put event invites out there and they get 10 people who then send it out to 10 more people, send it out to 50 more people. And we've even over here on my Facebook, I see those and forward them on to the people where I grew up. I was telling you about that's really close to Marietta, and that seems to be working. They also go to a lot of events in Marietta, and Marietta is kind of a central, sort of like Athens and Athens County. Athens is sort of a central commercial hub for the area. Marietta sort of serves that purpose, with Marietta and Parkersburg, being both of those being part of that. So, people are coming in for events, or they're coming in to go shopping, they're coming in to do these other things. So, in the Marietta example, they are everywhere. They are talking to everybody. But they also have done sort of a little bit of this reverse marketing, and to some extent, because they're working with the Career Center there and the the Washington State Community College and Marietta College, and they've also reached out to those populations. And so those are three fairly diverse populations. So they're pushing what they do in that reverse way. So there's sort of mutual marketing goes back and forth. But the question that you're asking is one that we are really working hard to figure out completely, because it is really hard. But for those of you that are from rural communities, word of mouth is pretty substantial. And once, the person who is, who everyone loves in the community starts coming and showing up, then everybody else is going to start coming and showing up. So we're trying to find those people and make them champions. Here in Athens, what is happening is that there are some people who have specialized skills who are teaching classes, and so they're bringing in their friends and people that respect them as craftspeople. So that has been another way. A lot of this has been really the big hook are these trainings that people are offering. It sort of stops somebody. Oh, I can have woodworking training. Oh, I can learn how to fabric. I can't wait to go to the Athens Makerspace and learn how to weld. It's like, I am so excited about that. It makes me crazy. So I think we're seeing a lot of people kind of saying, people are wanting to get back to using their hands and make things, right? It's kind of exciting. And that's not just in Appalachia or rural areas. That's, across the country. So these spaces, I think, are really in that population, the older population, are going very well. And then the school groups are being brought in. So they're actually, hey, have your field trip here. Come in, see this place. So then those kids are talking to their parents. And then a lot of it is word of mouth, which is opposite of a lot of the ways that we market things. But it's a pretty good way. Going to the fair, going to meeting people where they are. Thank you for the question. Yes.
Thanks a lot for your fantastic presentation here. You just talked about what works, what doesn't. So, okay, let's talk about Ohio University in Athens. So what the university has done for local economic development, or at least your clients. So let's say what should we do? So, do you have any kind of, Ohio University should do this more or shouldn't do this? So kind of based on your own experience.
That's a tricky question, because we as a university, we have done a lot in economic and community development. The fact that in 1983 we created the Innovation Center and said, all right, community, come on in, start your businesses, we'll help you. You don't have to be affiliated with the university. That's pretty amazing. I think the work that has happened in that regard. Everything, I think the university has started to think a little bit more about the area that we're located in and thinking about the impact. So they've done it on and off, but I'm feeling a renewed sense of responsibility. So we, when you guys go to the dining halls, there is locally produced food there. There's fresh food. That is an economic impact that this university has done, not only for you to have healthier food, but also for the economy in our region to grow. So that's really important. What, as a university, we need to do more of is to actually ask people in the communities what the hell they want. Instead of dictating, again, remember I talked about, we made are you making the program and then seeing if people will come, or are you talking to people, finding out what they want and then having a program that fits that. The university is, like I said, has had a fantastic impact on this area. But we need to talk more about what is really going to work. And I think that because our university has now started more emphasis on engagement, giving students internship opportunities or other work experience or class experiences with local businesses, local nonprofits, et cetera, I think that makes a bigger difference. I think some of the work that we do makes a great difference, but I think if you start adding up all these little touches, these little engagements and what the university is doing, I think it's significant. Some of the local companies that we've helped at the Innovation Center that you might be familiar with, there was a company that was called Diagnostic Hybrids Incorporated, and we helped them. It's a biotech company. They started around the same time the Innovation Center started, and some of venture capital funds went into that company. And about, oh gosh, I guess almost 10 years now, they were purchased for $180 million. I feel like I'm getting that number wrong. I feel like that's too low. I think it's $180 million. But Ohio University, because we had invested money early, because it was our licensed technology, some pieces of it was our licensed technology, we recouped $30 million out of that company. Out of that one company when they sold, they became a publicly traded company. And those jobs have stayed, and they're high paying. Even the janitors get paid well. It's now called Quidel is the name of the company. So, those are the types of things we have to do. That started out as a 2-person operation or 3-person operation maybe, and grew to over 200. I think they've had to right size a little bit. I think they're at about 180 now. But that's okay. That's 180 well-paying jobs. So, we've had that. We have a company right now that's getting ready to do what we call graduating. So leaving the Innovation Center and going out into the community to establish themselves. It's called RxQ Compounding. And we started working with them about 3 years ago. And they're getting ready to move out into a facility that they're building in Albany. So it's along 50. So they, they're hiring folks all the time. They're hiring lab technicians because it's basically what it is it's a compounding company, a drug, a pharmaceutical compounding company. And so they are also paying well, and benefits are great. So the university has done a lot, and I don't want to, by making the statement that I made, I still feel very strongly that we got to listen to the people we're trying to help. We can't just go help. Save. I'm here to save you. I don't want saved. I'm good. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there a process of accepting clients to administer services to, or is it relatively open?
So, if I understand your question, you're asking, like, if we are going to work with clients or companies, is there a process in picking or selecting those companies to work with us? Yeah, so we have a process that I'll go to more of what I know right now with the Innovation Center, and we have a pretty detailed process that people have to go through. They have to put together their initial sketch of their business plan. That you have to be technology based at the Innovation Center. We have interviews with them and to determine if they're coachable, and coachable means are they going to listen to anything that we say? Not necessarily that they take the advice, but do they at least, bring it in? And you can kind of tell that fairly early with some of the interviews that we do. But we have we have a process where people have to go through a workshop that we have. It's an ideation workshop, and then they go into a concept validation workshop, and they go through those so that you can really kind of weed out who's serious and who isn't. But not everybody fits into a nice, neat, box or linear kind of progression. So, sometimes we have to work with people and meet them where they are and figure out, what's the best. It's not all entrepreneurs. I feel that entrepreneurs sometimes are made a little bit differently than the rest of us. And maybe you guys are all this way. I seem to take chances or risks, but I don't think at the same level that a lot of the companies do. But so you have to really kind of listen and see what kind of person you're working with. Now my staff, now that we are running the larger regional basically business services. What we do is we have a client fill in a couple of surveys that tells us a little bit about, do they know, are they interested? Why are they interested? What is it that they are trying to do? Then we have an initial conversation with them. We encourage them to go to a couple of our trainings first, again, that are more focused on the validation of their idea and looking at whether or not they can be able to pull off what they're doing. And then what we do is give homework, putting that in air quotes. And homework basically can be, all right, so you said that you think 50 people are going to want to buy this year. Where's your data? Have you backed that up? Can you do a survey by the time we meet in 3 months, the next 3 months or however long it is? We need you to have that survey data done. And we have people either step up and do it, or that is enough of a barrier that when they have to do something, they're just not, because there are some people that just want us to run their businesses, and there are others that know that they have to be 100% engaged in the process or 150% engaged in the process. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.